Chapter 1. The Calm Before the Storm. In the heart of a tranquil suburban neighborhood, nestled amidst tree-lined streets and well-manicured lawns, stood the home of Mark and Lisa Thompson. From the outside, their life was the epitome of suburban bliss. Their two-story house, adorned with a classic white picket fence, exuded warmth and charm. The garden was a testament to Lisa's green thumb, with vibrant flowers blooming in well-tended beds, a small vegetable patch in one corner, and a meticulously trimmed lawn that gleamed under the sun's rays. Mark and Lisa had been married for over a decade, and their relationship had weathered the various storms that life threw their way. They met in college, Mark a driven architecture student with dreams of designing skyscrapers, and Lisa a compassionate education major with a passion for teaching young minds. Their connection was instant, their bond deepening over shared dreams, late-night study sessions, and countless cups of coffee. The perfect home. The house was not just a dwelling, but a labor of love. Mark, with his architectural skills, had a significant hand in designing it. He incorporated elements that reflected their personalities: the large bay windows that let in streams of natural light, a cozy reading nook for Lisa filled with her favorite books, and an open-plan kitchen where they spent countless evenings cooking together. The walls were adorned with family photos, showcasing moments from their wedding, vacations, and everyday life, each picture a testament to their shared history and love. Their bedroom, a sanctuary of calm, was painted in soothing tones of blue and white. A large bed dominated the space, flanked by matching nightstands. Lisa's side of the room was adorned with her collection of novels and a small desk where she planned her lessons. Mark's side had a sleek, modern design lamp and a few architectural magazines. The children's rooms were equally reflective of their personalities. Emma's, filled with stuffed animals, fairy lights, and posters of her favorite pop stars, while Jake's was a testament to his love for sports, with baseball caps, trophies, and posters of famous athletes. The happy couple. Mark had built a successful career as an architect. His firm was renowned for designing innovative and sustainable buildings, and his dedication to his work earned him respect and admiration in his field. He was passionate about his job, often losing himself in blueprints and designs, but he always made time for his family. He loved taking Emma and Jake on weekend adventures, hiking, visiting museums, or just playing catch in the backyard. Lisa, on the other hand, was the heart of the home. As a dedicated elementary school teacher, she poured her heart and soul into her students, always going the extra mile to ensure they felt seen and heard. Her passion for teaching was evident in the way she spoke about her students, each story filled with pride and love. She was equally devoted to her family, ensuring their home was a place of warmth, comfort, and love. The children, Emma and Jake. Emma, their eldest, was a bright and lively 12-year-old with a passion for music and dance. She was outgoing and social, always surrounded by friends. Her laughter was a common sound in the Thompson household, and her vivacious spirit brought energy to their home. She was particularly close to her mother, often spending time baking cookies or working on school projects together. Jake, 2 years younger, was a thoughtful and introspective 10-year-old. He had a keen interest in sports, especially baseball, and spent countless hours practicing his pitch in the backyard. He was a sensitive child, with a deep bond to both his parents. Mark often took him to games, fostering a love for the sport and creating cherished father-son moments. A typical day. On a typical day, the Thompson household buzzed with activity. Mornings began with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and the sound of breakfast being made. Lisa ensured everyone had a nutritious meal before they embarked on their day. The kitchen, with its large island and modern appliances, was the hub of morning activity. Mark would read the newspaper while Lisa prepared lunchboxes, and the children discussed their plans for the day. After school, the house would come alive again with the sound of Emma practicing her piano lessons and Jake recounting his day's adventures. Family dinners were sacred in the Thompson household. No matter how busy their schedules, they made it a point to sit down together every evening, sharing stories, laughter, and discussing their day. Lisa was a fantastic cook, and her meals were always a highlight, enjoyed around a large oak dining table that had seen years of shared meals and memories. The community. Their neighborhood was close-knit, with families who had known each other for years. Block parties, barbecues, and holiday celebrations were common, fostering a strong sense of community. Lisa was an active member of the neighborhood association, often organizing events and fundraisers. Mark, while more reserved, participated in community activities, knowing how much it meant to Lisa, the calm before the storm. Life for Mark and Lisa seemed perfect. Their love for each other was palpable, their children happy and thriving, and their home a sanctuary of comfort and warmth. They had built a life based on trust, mutual respect, and shared dreams. Yet beneath the surface of this idyllic existence, subtle cracks were beginning to form, unnoticed by them both. Mark's demanding job often left him exhausted, and while he loved his family dearly, the pressures of his career sometimes created a distance between him and Lisa. Lisa, though deeply fulfilled by her teaching career and family life, occasionally felt the weight of routine and the longing for something more. It was within this seemingly perfect bubble that Sarah entered their lives, setting off a chain of events that would irrevocably change their world. The calm before the storm was deceptive, masking the underlying tensions and vulnerabilities that would soon be exposed. And so, the stage was set for a dramatic unraveling of a once stable marriage, a story of love, betrayal, and the quest for redemption. Chapter 2. The New Neighbor. It was a sunny afternoon, the kind that brings neighbors out of their homes and into their yards. Lisa was in her garden, kneeling on a mat, her gloved hands carefully tending to the flowers. She was in her element, humming a tune as she worked, the warm sun on her back. Her garden was her pride and joy, a colorful oasis of roses, tulips, and daisies. She had just finished pruning the roses when she heard the rumble of a moving truck. Curiosity piqued. Lisa stood up and wiped her hands on her apron. She shaded her eyes against the sun and watched as the truck pulled up next door. It was a large truck, the kind that spoke of a significant move. The driver hopped out and opened the back, revealing furniture and boxes. Lisa's interest grew as she saw a woman step out from the passenger side, her face obscured by large, stylish sunglasses. The woman was striking, even from a distance. She had an effortless grace about her, the kind that turned heads. She wore a simple, elegant dress that fluttered in the breeze, and her hair, a cascade of auburn waves, caught the sunlight. She moved with a confidence that spoke of someone used to being noticed. Lisa decided to introduce herself. She walked over, her friendly smile already in place. "Hi there, I'm Lisa. Welcome to the neighborhood." The woman turned towards Lisa, a smile spreading across her lips. She removed her sunglasses, revealing bright green eyes that sparkled with a mix of excitement and relief. "Hello, I'm Sarah. It's so nice to meet you. I've just moved in, newly divorced and looking for a fresh start." Lisa felt an immediate connection with Sarah. There was something about her that was both intriguing and approachable. "Well, if you need any help settling in, just let me know. We're right next door." The bond begins. Over the next few days, Lisa and Sarah's paths crossed frequently. Lisa, with her natural warmth and hospitality, made it a point to check in on Sarah, bringing over freshly baked cookies and offering to help unpack. Sarah appreciated the kindness, finding comfort in Lisa's presence. They quickly formed a bond, often finding themselves sharing coffee and conversations over the fence that separated their yards. Sarah was an open book. She spoke freely about her recent divorce, a painful but necessary step to reclaim her life. Her ex-husband had been controlling, and their marriage had been a series of battles that left her exhausted and yearning for freedom. The move was her chance to start anew, to rebuild her life on her own terms. Lisa found herself admiring Sarah's strength and resilience. Despite the challenges she had faced, Sarah radiated an inner strength and determination. She was charming and witty, with a quick sense of humor that often had Lisa laughing. There was an air of confidence about her that drew people in, making them feel instantly at ease. Sarah's allure. Sarah's beauty was undeniable. She had a striking face, with high cheekbones and full lips that curved into a captivating smile. Her eyes, a vivid green, seemed to see right through people, making them feel special and understood. Her hair, always perfectly styled, framed her face in soft waves. But it was more than her physical appearance that made her attractive, it was the way she carried herself. She had an effortless grace and a magnetic presence that made people gravitate towards her. Mark noticed her too. Though he tried to hide his interest, there was no denying the spark of attraction he felt. He admired her from a distance, stealing glances when he thought no one was watching. Sarah, on the other hand, was immediately drawn to Mark. She saw in him a stability and kindness she had longed for in her own tumultuous marriage. Shared moments. Lisa often invited Sarah over for coffee, and their conversations flowed easily. They talked about everything, their hopes, dreams, and the little things that made life interesting. Sarah shared stories of her past, her struggles, and her aspirations for the future. Lisa, in turn, talked about her family, her love for teaching, and the joy she found in her garden. One afternoon, as they sat on Lisa's porch sipping iced tea, Sarah confided, "It's been a long time since I've felt this at ease with someone. You've made this transition so much easier for me, Lisa. Thank you." Lisa smiled warmly. "I'm glad we've become friends, Sarah. It's nice to have someone to share things with." Sarah's intentions. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah's feelings for Mark grew. She admired his dedication to his family, his work ethic, and the kindness he showed towards everyone. He was everything her ex-husband was not, gentle, caring, and attentive. She began to imagine what life with Mark would be like, how different it could be from the turmoil of her past. Sarah's attraction to Mark was not just about physical desire, it was about the emotional connection she craved. She saw in him a potential for a relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. The more she got to know him, the more determined she became to pursue him. Mark, meanwhile, found himself in a difficult position. He loved Lisa deeply, but there was no denying the excitement and intrigue Sarah brought into his life. He enjoyed their conversations and the way she made him feel. It was a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time, a sense of being seen and appreciated in a way that was new and exhilarating. He struggled with his emotions, trying to reconcile his loyalty to Lisa with the growing attraction he felt for Sarah. He knew he was treading dangerous waters, but the allure of Sarah's charm was hard to resist. He found himself looking forward to the moments when their paths would cross, the casual touches and the lingering glances. The turning point. One evening, while Lisa was away visiting her sister, Mark found himself alone at home. He had planned a quiet evening, but when Sarah knocked on his door, everything changed. She stood there, a bottle of wine in hand, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I thought you might like some company," she said with a smile. Mark hesitated for a moment, but the loneliness and the desire for connection overcame his better judgment. He invited her in, and they spent the evening talking, laughing, and sharing stories. The wine flowed freely, lowering inhibitions and fueling the chemistry between them. As the night progressed, the atmosphere grew more intimate. Sarah moved closer, her laughter soft and inviting. She confessed how much she enjoyed their time together, how he made her feel alive and appreciated. Mark, intoxicated by the wine and her attention, found himself drawn to her. That night, the line between friendship and something more was crossed. Mark's betrayal began, setting off a chain of events that would eventually unravel the lives of everyone involved. The calm before the storm ends. As dawn approached, Mark lay awake, the weight of his actions pressing down on him. He knew he had made a mistake, one that could never be undone. The calm before the storm had ended, and the turbulence of the coming days loomed on the horizon. The seemingly perfect life he and Lisa had built was about to be tested in ways he could never have imagined. Chapter 3. The Spark of Temptation. As weeks turned into months, the rhythm of suburban life continued its steady, predictable pace. Mark and Lisa settled into their routines, with work, school, and family life filling their days. However, within this tranquil setting, an undercurrent of change was slowly building. The arrival of Sarah, the new neighbor, had subtly altered the dynamics of their lives, growing camaraderie. Sarah and Mark's paths crossed more frequently as time went by. What began as casual encounters over the garden fence gradually evolved into deeper, more meaningful conversations. They found themselves talking about everything from their professional aspirations to their personal struggles. Their exchanges were filled with laughter and a sense of ease that both found refreshing. Mark appreciated Sarah's ability to listen without judgment, to offer insights that felt both wise and compassionate. Sarah, in turn, admired Mark's stability and kindness. He was a stark contrast to the men she had known before, and she found herself increasingly drawn to his calm demeanor and steady presence. Lisa, always warm and trusting, noticed the growing camaraderie between her husband and their neighbor. She saw how Mark's face lit up during his conversations with Sarah and how their laughter echoed across the yard. Yet she brushed off any concerns as harmless. Lisa had complete faith in Mark. Their marriage, built on a decade of shared experiences and mutual respect, seemed unshakable. The invitation. One evening, while Lisa was away visiting her sister for the weekend, Mark found himself alone at home. The house, usually filled with the sounds of family life, felt unusually quiet. He decided to spend the evening catching up on some work and perhaps unwinding with a glass of wine. As he sat in the living room, his thoughts kept drifting to Sarah. Their recent conversations had stirred something within him, a longing for connection and the excitement of something new. Almost on impulse, he picked up his phone and sent a quick message to Sarah. "Hey, I have a bottle of wine and could use some company. Want to come over?" The reply came almost instantly. "I'd love to. Be there in a few minutes." Mark felt a thrill of anticipation. He told himself it was just a friendly invitation, nothing more. They were neighbors and friends after all, yet deep down he knew there was more at play. A night of confessions. Sarah arrived, looking effortlessly chic in a casual dress that accentuated her figure. She carried a light, easy smile, but her eyes held a sparkle of excitement. They settled in the living room, and Mark poured them each a glass of wine. The atmosphere was relaxed, the conversation flowing naturally as they discussed their days, shared funny anecdotes, and spoke about their hopes for the future. As the night wore on, the bottle of wine slowly emptied, and the mood grew more intimate. They moved closer on the couch, their laughter quieter, their voices softer. The room, dimly lit by the glow of a single lamp, felt like a cocoon, separating them from the outside world. Sarah sensed the shift in Mark's demeanor. He was more relaxed, his defenses lowered by the wine and the comfort of her presence. She decided to take a chance, to voice the feelings she had been harboring for weeks. "Mark," she began, her voice gentle but earnest, "I have to tell you something. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, our conversations, the time we spend together. It's become something I look forward to. I haven't felt this kind of connection in years." Mark looked at her, his heart pounding. He knew where this was headed, and yet he couldn't bring himself to stop it. The longing in Sarah's eyes mirrored his own unspoken desires. "I feel the same way," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "There's something about you, Sarah. You make me feel alive." Crossing the line. With those words, the final barrier between them crumbled. Sarah moved closer, her hand gently resting on Mark's arm. The touch sent a shiver through him, and he instinctively leaned in. Their faces were inches apart, the tension palpable. "Mark," she whispered, her eyes searching his, "I think we both know what we want." In that moment, all rational thoughts vanished. Mark, intoxicated by the wine and the intensity of the moment, found himself unable to resist. He closed the distance between them, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that was both tender and urgent. It was a release of pent-up emotions, a crossing of a line that would change everything. They pulled apart, both breathing heavily, the reality of what had just happened sinking in. Mark knew he had betrayed Lisa, but the feelings swirling inside him were too powerful to ignore. He and Sarah shared a moment of unspoken understanding, a recognition that what they had done could never be undone. The aftermath. As dawn approached, the weight of their actions pressed down on Mark. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, Sarah sleeping peacefully beside him. Guilt gnawed at him, but so did a strange sense of fulfillment. He knew he had made a grave mistake, one that could shatter the life he had built with Lisa. Yet in that quiet moment before the world woke up, all he could think about was the connection he had found with Sarah. The spark of temptation had ignited a fire that would soon spread, consuming everything in its path. The perfect, stable life he and Lisa had created was now hanging by a thread, and the choices he made in the coming days would determine its fate. Lisa's trust, once unwavering, would soon be tested in ways she could never have imagined. And Sarah, the catalyst of this upheaval, would find herself navigating a complex web of emotions caught between her desire for Mark and the consequences of their actions. The calm before the storm had truly ended. Now the tempest was about to begin, and no one would emerge unscathed. Chapter 4. The Act of Betrayal. The evening began innocently enough, but as the hours passed and the wine flowed, the atmosphere between Mark and Sarah grew charged with an unspoken tension. The soft glow of the living room lamps cast long shadows, creating an intimate cocoon that seemed to draw them closer together. Succumbing to temptation, Mark, his mind clouded by alcohol and the intoxicating presence of Sarah, found his resolve weakening. He told himself it was just a momentary lapse, a small escape from the pressures of his life. But as Sarah leaned in, her eyes sparkling with desire, he couldn't resist any longer. Their kiss, once tentative, quickly deepened, fueled by a mix of passion and longing. They moved from the living room to the bedroom, leaving a trail of discarded clothes in their wake. Mark was caught in a whirlwind of sensations, his mind pushed aside as his body took over. In the dim light, the world outside ceased to exist. There was only Sarah, her touch, her warmth, and the overpowering need to feel alive. The morning after the following morning, Mark awoke with a heavy head and a heavier heart. The reality of his actions hit him like a cold wave. He looked over at Sarah, who was still asleep beside him, her hair splayed out on the pillow. Guilt gnawed at him, a relentless, bitter taste in his mouth. He had betrayed Lisa, the woman he loved, and for what? A fleeting moment of weakness? He slipped out of bed quietly, gathering his clothes and dressing in the dim light. As he left Sarah's house, the weight of his actions pressed down on him with each step. He hoped he could put it behind him, that it could remain a secret, a one-time indiscretion. Sarah's ambitions. But Sarah had other plans. For her, the night they shared wasn't just a momentary lapse. It was the beginning of something new, an opportunity to win Mark for herself. She desired the life Lisa had, a stable, loving husband and a comfortable home, and she was determined to get it. Over the next few days, Sarah began to subtly manipulate Mark. She was careful, planting seeds of doubt about his marriage without making it obvious. During their conversations, she would casually mention how happy she felt around him, how he seemed to come alive when they were together. She spoke of her own marriage, painting a picture of what a relationship should be, one filled with excitement, passion, and mutual understanding. "Mark, you deserve to be truly happy," she would say, her voice soft and persuasive. "Life is too short to settle for anything less." Doubts and manipulations. Mark tried to resist, but Sarah's words lingered in his mind. He found himself questioning his own happiness, wondering if there was truth in her observations. His relationship with Lisa, while loving, had fallen into a predictable routine. The spark they once shared had dimmed over the years, replaced by the everyday responsibilities of work and parenting. Lisa, unaware of the turmoil brewing inside her husband, continued her daily routines with the same warmth and dedication. She noticed Mark seemed more distant, lost in his thoughts, but attributed it to stress from work. She trusted him implicitly, never suspecting the betrayal that had occurred. Sarah's influence grew stronger as she continued to see Mark. She was always there, a constant presence, offering a shoulder to lean on and a sympathetic ear. She listened to his frustrations, validated his feelings, and subtly encouraged the idea that he deserved more than what he had. Her manipulations were skillful, always cloaked in genuine concern and affection. The seeds of doubt. Mark found himself spending more time with Sarah, drawn to her energy and the way she made him feel. She was a stark contrast to the predictability of his life with Lisa. With Sarah, everything felt new and exciting. He knew he was treading dangerous waters, but the allure was too strong to resist. The guilt of his betrayal lingered, but it was now accompanied by a growing dissatisfaction with his own life. He began to see Lisa not as his partner, but as a part of the routine he had become so disillusioned with. Sarah's words echoed in his mind, feeding his doubts and making him question everything he had once taken for granted. Sarah, sensing the shift in Mark's attitude, became bolder in her advances. She no longer hid her intentions, making it clear that she wanted to be with him. She would casually mention how they could build a life together, one filled with passion and excitement, free from the mundane routines that had come to define his marriage. "You don't have to settle, Mark," she would whisper, her hand gently touching his. "We could have something special." Mark's inner conflict. Mark was torn. He loved Lisa and the life they had built together, but the allure of something new and exciting was hard to resist. He felt trapped between two worlds, each pulling him in different directions. The more time he spent with Sarah, the more distant he became from Lisa, creating a growing rift in their relationship. He knew he had to make a choice, but the decision weighed heavily on him. The betrayal, once a momentary lapse, had now evolved into a complex web of emotions and desires. Mark found himself standing at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. A tipping point. One evening, as Mark sat alone in his office, his phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. It was a simple text, but it carried a weight that made his heart race. "I miss you," it read. "Can we talk?" Mark knew he was at a tipping point. He could either continue down the path of deceit and temptation or confront the truth and try to salvage what remained of his marriage. He stared at the message, feeling the weight of his choices pressing down on him. Conclusion. The act of betrayal had set off a chain of events that could not be undone. Mark's decisions in the coming days would determine the fate of his marriage, his family, and his own sense of self. The spark of temptation had ignited a fire, and now he had to face the consequences of his actions. As the storm clouds gathered on the horizon, Mark knew that his life was about to change forever. The calm suburban existence he had once known was now a distant memory, replaced by a turbulent and uncertain future. Chapter 5. The Revelation. The affair between Mark and Sarah persisted, a clandestine shadow that darkened every corner of Mark's life. Months passed in a blur of stolen moments and secret rendezvous. Mark's guilt grew with each passing day, yet he found himself unable to sever the ties with Sarah. Her allure was too strong, her manipulation too insidious. Each meeting, each touch, pulled him deeper into a web he could no longer escape. Increasing distance. At home, the distance between Mark and Lisa became a chasm. Mark's once warm and affectionate demeanor had turned cold and distant. He was often lost in thought, his mind consumed by the dual lives he was leading. He avoided Lisa's touch, her questions, and the intimacy they once shared. Lisa, sensing something was wrong, tried to reach out, to bridge the gap, but Mark's responses were curt, evasive, and increasingly hostile. Lisa felt the strain but couldn't pinpoint its source. She began to question herself, wondering if she had done something to push Mark away. Her efforts to rekindle their connection were met with indifference, leaving her feeling isolated and helpless. The warmth and laughter that once filled their home were replaced by a cold silence that seemed to grow louder with each passing day. Sarah's impatience. Sarah, on the other hand, grew impatient. She had hoped that Mark would leave Lisa on his own, that their affair would naturally lead him to choose her. But as months passed and Mark remained indecisive, Sarah realized she needed to take a more direct approach. She wanted the life Lisa had, and she was willing to do whatever it took to get it. Sarah planned her move meticulously. She knew that revealing the affair would shatter Lisa's world, but she believed it was the only way to force Mark's hand. She was confident that once the truth was out, Mark would have no choice but to be with her. The confrontation. One crisp autumn afternoon, when Mark was at work and the children were at school, Sarah saw her chance. She watched from her window as Lisa tended to her garden, the same activity that had first brought them together. Taking a deep breath, Sarah steeled herself and walked over, her heart pounding in her chest. "Lisa, can we talk?" Sarah's voice was steady, betraying none of the nervousness she felt inside. Lisa looked up, surprised but not suspicious. She wiped her hands on her gardening apron and smiled. "Of course, Sarah. What's on your mind?" Sarah took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. "It's about Mark and me." Lisa's smile faltered, confusion flickering across her face. "What do you mean?" "I've been having an affair with Mark," Sarah said bluntly, her eyes fixed on Lisa's. "It's been going on for months." The words hung in the air, a bombshell that shattered the quiet serenity of the garden. Lisa stared at Sarah, her mind struggling to process the revelation. The world seemed to tilt, and for a moment she felt as if she might faint. "You're lying," Lisa whispered, her voice shaking. "Why would you say something like that?" "I'm not lying, Lisa," Sarah replied, her tone firm. "I didn't want you to find out like this, but I can't keep living a lie. Mark and I, we love each other." Lisa's legs gave way, and she sank to the ground, tears streaming down her face. The betrayal cut deep, a knife twisting in her heart. She had trusted Mark implicitly, had never doubted his love and loyalty. And now, in an instant, her entire world had been torn apart. Lisa's devastation. For what felt like an eternity, Lisa sat in stunned silence, her mind a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, hurt, confusion, and betrayal all swirled together, leaving her feeling utterly devastated. She had given her heart to Mark, had built a life and a family with him. The revelation that he had been unfaithful, that he had shared his heart and his body with another woman, was a blow from which she wasn't sure she could recover. Sarah watched her, a mix of guilt and satisfaction playing across her face. She had achieved her goal, but the sight of Lisa's pain stirred a flicker of doubt within her. Had she gone too far? Was this truly the path to happiness? But she quickly brushed the doubts aside. This was the only way. Mark would see that they were meant to be together. Mark's arrival. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the garden, Lisa remained where she had fallen, her tears soaking the earth. The sound of Mark's car pulling into the driveway barely registered in her mind. She heard the door slam, his footsteps approaching, but she couldn't bring herself to move. "Lisa?" Mark's voice was filled with concern as he hurried to her side. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" She looked up at him, her eyes filled with pain and anger. "How could you?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "How could you do this to us?" Mark's heart sank as he realized what had happened. He looked over at Sarah, who stood a few feet away, her expression a mixture of defiance and triumph. "Lisa, I can explain." "Explain?" Lisa's voice rose in pitch, a raw, anguished cry. "There's nothing to explain, Mark. You betrayed me. You destroyed everything we had." Mark reached out to her, but she recoiled, the hurt in her eyes cutting him deeper than any words could. "I'm so sorry, Lisa," he said, his voice trembling. "I never meant to hurt you. But the damage was done." The truth was out, and there was no taking it back. Lisa stood up, her body shaking with grief and fury. "I trusted you," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I loved you." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Mark standing in the garden, his heart in pieces. Sarah approached him, her hand reaching for his, but he pulled away, the weight of his actions crashing down on him. Consequences. The revelation of the affair set off a chain of events that would change their lives forever. Lisa, devastated and heartbroken, sought solace in her family and friends, trying to piece together the fragments of her shattered world. She found herself questioning everything, her marriage, her choices, and even her own worth. Mark, racked with guilt and regret, faced the consequences of his actions. The affair that had once seemed like a fleeting escape had now become a destructive force, tearing apart the life he had built. He realized too late the true cost of his betrayal. Sarah, having achieved her goal, found herself grappling with the reality of what she had done. She had thought that exposing the affair would bring her happiness, but instead, she was left with a sense of emptiness and doubt. The love she had pursued so relentlessly now seemed tainted, overshadowed by the pain it had caused. Moving forward. The days that followed were a blur of difficult conversations and painful decisions. Lisa, determined to find a way forward, sought counseling and support from those around her. She knew that healing would be a long and arduous journey, but she was resolved to rebuild her life with or without Mark. Mark, desperate to make amends, offered to do whatever it took to regain Lisa's trust. He ended his relationship with Sarah, realizing that his feelings for her had been a misguided attempt to fill a void within himself. He vowed to be there for his children and to support Lisa, regardless of whether she chose to forgive him. Sarah, now on the outside looking in, faced the harsh reality of her choices. She had believed that winning Mark would bring her the happiness and stability she craved, but instead, she found herself alone and disillusioned. She decided to move away, seeking a fresh start once again, this time with a clearer understanding of what truly mattered. Conclusion. The revelation of the affair had shattered the illusion of their perfect lives, leaving behind a trail of heartache and loss. But amidst the rubble, there was also a glimmer of hope. Lisa, Mark, and even Sarah were forced to confront their own truths, to face their flaws and seek redemption. The road ahead was uncertain, but with time, patience, and a commitment to healing, there was a chance for growth and renewal. In the quiet suburban neighborhood where it all began, life continued. The garden that had witnessed so much joy and pain began to bloom once more, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of hope. Chapter 6. The Revenge Lisa's Transformation. Lisa's initial reaction to the revelation of Mark's affair was one of profound heartbreak and despair. She spent days in a fog, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the betrayal. However, as the shock began to wear off, her sorrow transformed into a burning desire for revenge. The pain gave way to a cold, calculated resolve. She decided that both Mark and Sarah needed to pay for their betrayal, and she would ensure their downfall. The plan against Sarah Lisa started with Sarah. She knew that Sarah thrived on the acceptance and admiration of others, and she decided to strip that away. Using her charm and deep connections within the neighborhood, Lisa began to subtly spread rumors about Sarah's past. She painted a picture of Sarah as a manipulative homewrecker, someone who had a history of destroying marriages for her own gain. At first, it was just whispers at social gatherings and PTA meetings. Lisa would casually mention Sarah's affair with Mark, hinting at other indiscretions in her past. She was careful not to seem vindictive, presenting herself as a concerned neighbor who was reluctantly sharing the truth. The rumors took on a life of their own, growing with each retelling. The once welcoming community turned cold, their smiles replaced by suspicious glances and murmurs of disapproval. Sarah's isolation. Sarah quickly felt the shift in the community's attitude. Neighbors who once greeted her warmly now avoided eye contact. Invitations to social events dried up. At the supermarket, she heard the whispers and saw the judgmental looks. She found herself increasingly isolated, her reputation tarnished beyond repair. Sarah tried to confront Lisa, to plead with her to stop, but Lisa was always calm, composed, and feigned ignorance. "I'm not sure what you're talking about, Sarah," she would say with a cold smile. "People just talk. You know how it is." Desperate and alone, Sarah began to unravel. The life she had tried to build in this new neighborhood crumbled around her, leaving her with nothing but the consequences of her actions. The plan against Lisa's revenge against Mark was more personal and insidious. She knew his weaknesses, his insecurities, and she began to exploit them with meticulous precision. It started subtly, with small comments designed to make him doubt his own sanity. Gaslighting and manipulation. "Are you sure you didn't leave the keys here, Mark?" she would ask innocently after moving them herself. "You seem to be forgetting things a lot lately." She began planting false evidence of her own infidelity, careful to make it just plausible enough to be believable. She left text messages from a fictional lover on her phone where Mark could easily find them. She would arrange to receive flowers and gifts, making sure they were delivered when Mark was around. When confronted, Lisa would act hurt and confused. "Mark, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you accusing me of cheating after everything you've done?" Turning the children against him. Lisa also turned their children against him, a move that struck at the very core of his being. She subtly poisoned Emma and Jake's minds, portraying Mark as the villain who had destroyed their family. She would make offhand comments about how much better things were when Mark wasn't around, or how his actions had hurt them all. "Your father doesn't really care about us," she would say with a sad smile. "He only thinks about himself." The children, already confused and hurt by the changes in their family, began to withdraw from Mark. They became distant and resentful, blaming him for the pain and upheaval in their lives. Mark, already riddled with guilt, found himself increasingly alienated from his own children. Mark's unraveling. The combined weight of Lisa's manipulations began to take a toll on Mark. He started doubting his own perceptions, questioning his sanity. The guilt from his affair, compounded by Lisa's actions, left him in a constant state of anxiety and despair. He became paranoid, convinced that Lisa was hiding something from him, but unable to prove it. At work, his performance suffered. Colleagues noticed his distracted demeanor, his inability to focus. He made mistakes, missed deadlines, and his reputation as a reliable architect began to erode. The pressure mounted both at home and at work, pushing Mark to the brink. Lisa watched his descent with a cold satisfaction. Each step of her plan brought her closer to her goal, making Mark feel the same pain and betrayal she had felt. She saw the man who had once betrayed her now crumbling under the weight of his own guilt and paranoia, and she felt a grim sense of justice. The climax. The climax of Lisa's revenge came one fateful evening. Mark returned home to find a letter on the kitchen table. It was from Lisa, but its contents were not what he expected. It detailed her awareness of his affair, her feelings of betrayal, and her decision to leave him. It also included information about the false infidelities she had planted, explaining how she had orchestrated everything to make him doubt his sanity and lose the trust of their children. Mark read the letter in stunned silence, the full realization of Lisa's vengeance sinking in. He felt a mix of anger, despair, and a twisted form of admiration for her cunning. She had outplayed him at every turn, turning his own actions against him in a masterful display of retribution. The aftermath. In the aftermath of the revelation, Mark was left to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. Lisa moved out, taking the children with her. She filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences and ensuring that she would get full custody of Emma and Jake. The community, already turned against Sarah, now viewed Mark with disdain, seeing him as the unfaithful husband who had destroyed his family. Sarah, completely isolated and broken, decided to leave the neighborhood. Her plans to build a new life with Mark had backfired spectacularly, leaving her with nothing but regret and loneliness. Conclusion. Lisa, despite the pain and effort it had taken, felt a sense of closure. Her revenge had been thorough and devastating, a fitting response to the betrayal she had endured. She moved forward with her life, determined to rebuild and find happiness on her own terms. Mark, now alone and estranged from his children, faced the difficult task of rebuilding his life. The weight of his actions and the consequences of Lisa's revenge would stay with him forever, a constant reminder of the cost of betrayal. Chapter 7. The Consequences. Sarah's Departure. The aftermath of Lisa's calculated revenge unfolded with devastating clarity. Sarah, unable to withstand the hostility from the community and the profound isolation, decided to move away. The warm welcome she had initially received had turned into a cold rejection, and the once friendly faces of neighbors now bore judgmental glares. Every social interaction was fraught with tension and whispered accusations, leaving Sarah no choice but to seek solace elsewhere. She packed her belongings and left the neighborhood, her departure a silent admission of defeat, Mark's decline. Mark, left behind to face the wreckage of his choices, descended into a deep and unrelenting despair. His career, once flourishing, began to crumble. The respect and admiration he had earned over the years evaporated as his personal life spiraled out of control. He found it difficult to focus at work, and his projects began to suffer. Mistakes became frequent, and deadlines were missed. Colleagues and clients lost confidence in him, and he was eventually demoted, his reputation in tatters. At home, the situation was even more dire. The relationship with his children, Emma and Jake, was beyond repair. The subtle manipulation by Lisa had effectively turned them against him. They viewed him as the sole cause of their family's disintegration and refused to engage with him. Attempts to reconcile were met with cold indifference or outright hostility, deepening Mark's sense of isolation and failure, Lisa's emptiness. Lisa, having achieved her revenge, found herself grappling with a hollow victory. The satisfaction of seeing Mark and Sarah suffer was fleeting, replaced by a deep sense of emptiness. Her marriage, once the cornerstone of her life, was beyond repair. The love and trust that had once bound her and Mark together were irrevocably shattered. The divorce, when it came, was a bitter formality, marking the end of a decade-long relationship. Although Lisa had managed to secure full custody of the children, the victory felt Pyrrhic. The household was steeped in a pervasive sadness. The once vibrant home, filled with laughter and warmth, was now a silent reminder of what had been lost. Lisa had hoped that her revenge would bring closure, but instead, it left a void that nothing seemed to fill. The neighborhood's transformation. The entire neighborhood, once a serene and happy place, was irrevocably changed by the events. The affair and its fallout became the stuff of whispered conversations and cautionary tales. The idyllic suburban life was marred by the stark reminder that beneath the surface of tranquility there could lie deep-seated pain and betrayal. Neighbors, once close-knit, became more guarded and less trusting, wary of the potential for hidden turmoil in their own lives. Mark's struggle for redemption. In the months following the divorce, Mark hit rock bottom. His mental health deteriorated rapidly. Depression and anxiety took hold, and he struggled to find any semblance of normalcy. He sought therapy, attempting to piece together the fragments of his broken psyche. The sessions were grueling, forcing him to confront his actions and their consequences head-on. Despite the overwhelming guilt and despair, Mark began a slow, arduous journey towards redemption. He joined support groups for people who had experienced similar situations, finding some solace in the shared experiences and mutual understanding. He made a conscious effort to rebuild his life, starting with small steps. He began volunteering at local charities, hoping that helping others might bring some measure of peace. Lisa's path. Forward. Lisa, too, sought therapy to deal with her emotional scars. She worked through her feelings of betrayal and the emptiness left by her revenge. Gradually, she began to focus on rebuilding her life. She dedicated herself to her career and to being the best possible mother for Emma and Jake. She made sure they received the support they needed, both emotionally and academically, to navigate the upheaval in their lives. Lisa also started engaging more with her community, trying to rebuild the connections she had strained through her quest for revenge. She joined local clubs and activities, aiming to create a new support network. Slowly, she began to find a new sense of purpose and fulfillment. Sarah's new beginning. Sarah, having moved away, decided to start fresh. She settled in a new town, determined to leave the past behind. The experience had changed her, making her more introspective and aware of her flaws. She sought therapy to understand why she had made the choices she did and to learn from her mistakes. Sarah knew she could never undo the damage, but she hoped to build a better future for herself. The lingering pain. The consequences of the betrayal and subsequent revenge lingered like a shadow over everyone involved. Mark, Lisa, and Sarah each faced their own battles, their lives forever altered by the choices they had made. The wounds, though healed over time, left scars that served as constant reminders of the pain and heartbreak. The enduring lessons. In the end, no one emerged unscathed. The betrayal had set off a chain of events that destroyed lives and shattered illusions. Each of them, Mark, Lisa, and Sarah, learned that some wounds never fully heal and that the pursuit of revenge often leaves emptiness in its wake. The neighborhood, once a place of peace and happiness, now stood as a testament to the fragility of trust and the devastating impact of deceit. The story of Mark, Lisa, and Sarah became a somber reminder to those who knew it. Betrayal and revenge are paths fraught with peril, and the true cost is often far greater than anyone anticipates. As the seasons changed and time moved on, the neighborhood slowly began to heal, but the memory of what had happened would never be entirely forgotten. Chapter 8. The Aftermath. A changing neighborhood years passed, and the scandal that once rocked the quiet suburban neighborhood gradually faded into a distant memory. New families moved into the homes once filled with turmoil, unaware of the secrets and heartbreaks that had once haunted their walls. Life in the neighborhood resumed its tranquil rhythm, the whispers and shadows of the past slowly replaced by the laughter and warmth of new beginnings. Mark's new life. Mark moved to a different city, driven by the need to leave behind the wreckage of his former life and seek a fresh start. The journey to rebuild was arduous, marked by the heavy burden of guilt and regret that never fully dissipated. He found a modest apartment and took a job far removed from his former career as an architect, opting for the simplicity and anonymity of a quiet desk job. In his new city, Mark committed himself to therapy and self-improvement. He attended support groups, where he shared his story and listened to others who had walked similar paths. These sessions became a cornerstone of his healing process, providing him with a sense of community and understanding that he had sorely missed. Despite his efforts, the scars of his past mistakes lingered. Trusting others and himself remained a significant challenge. The memories of his betrayal and the subsequent unraveling of his life were constant companions, reminding him of the cost of his actions. Yet amidst the struggles, Mark found moments of peace and clarity, small victories in his ongoing journey toward redemption. Lisa's path forward. Back in the neighborhood, Lisa continued her life with a renewed focus on her children and her career. She poured her energy into being a dedicated mother, ensuring that Emma and Jake had the stability and support they needed to thrive. Her career as a teacher flourished as she channeled her experiences into her work, becoming a mentor and source of inspiration for her students. Lisa found solace in the small victories of everyday life, a successful school project, a heartfelt conversation with her children, a quiet moment in her garden. These moments, though seemingly mundane, became the foundation of her healing. She forged new friendships and strengthened old ones, gradually rebuilding her sense of community and belonging. Despite her progress, the memories of the past lingered. The betrayal she had endured and the revenge she had exacted left deep emotional scars. Trusting others, especially men, was difficult. Yet Lisa remained resilient, determined to move forward and find happiness on her own terms. Sarah's self-realization. Sarah, after leaving the neighborhood, found herself at a crossroads. The move forced her to confront the reality of her choices and the consequences they had wrought. Starting over once again, she realized that the happiness she had sought through her affair with Mark was an illusion, built on the ruins of someone else's life. In her new town, Sarah embraced a journey of self-discovery and healing. She sought therapy, delving deep into her past to understand the patterns and insecurities that had led her to such destructive behavior. Through this introspective work, Sarah began to uncover a sense of inner peace and self-acceptance that had long eluded her. She took up new hobbies and interests, finding joy in activities that nurtured her spirit and creativity. Volunteering at a local shelter, painting, and practicing yoga became integral parts of her life, each contributing to her growing sense of fulfillment and purpose. Sarah eventually found peace within herself, understanding that true happiness comes from within, not from the destruction of others. The neighborhood's new chapter. As the years rolled on, the neighborhood itself underwent a transformation. The homes that had once been filled with secrets and sorrows became vibrant with the energy of new families. The laughter of children playing in the yards, the scent of barbecues in the summer, and the festive decorations during the holidays infused the area with a renewed sense of life. The memory of the scandal gradually faded, becoming just another chapter in the neighborhood's history. For those who had lived through it, the event served as a somber reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the consequences of actions driven by desire and revenge. Yet, for the newcomers, the neighborhood was simply a welcoming place to build their own stories and create new memories. Lessons learned. The experiences of Mark, Lisa, and Sarah left enduring lessons for each of them. Mark learned the importance of honesty, accountability, and the difficult path to redemption. Lisa discovered her own strength and resilience, finding fulfillment in her roles as a mother and teacher. Sarah realized that true happiness could not be achieved through manipulation and deceit, but through self-awareness and genuine connections. Moving on. Though their lives were forever changed by the events that had transpired, each of them found a way to move on. They carried the lessons of the past with them, shaping their futures with newfound wisdom and understanding. In the end, the betrayal and its aftermath became a catalyst for personal growth and transformation, teaching them that even in the wake of profound pain and loss, there is always the possibility of renewal and hope. The neighborhood, once a place of peace and happiness turned to heartbreak and conflict, found its way back to tranquility. It stood as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring capacity for change and healing. And so, life continued, with new stories unfolding and new memories being made, each one a reminder of the delicate balance between joy and sorrow, trust and betrayal. Chapter 9. Lessons learned: the complexity of human relationships. The story of Mark, Lisa, and Sarah serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities inherent in human relationships. What began as a seemingly idyllic suburban life unraveled into a tale of betrayal, revenge, and ultimately, personal growth. Their intertwined lives, marked by love, deceit, and vengeance, underscore the fragile nature of trust and the far-reaching consequences of actions driven by selfish desires. Mark's journey to redemption. Mark's affair with Sarah and the subsequent fallout were catalysts for a profound transformation. Initially, Mark's betrayal was a moment of weakness, fueled by the intoxicating allure of novelty and attention. However, the consequences of his actions were severe and far-reaching. His career suffered, his relationship with his children was shattered, and his mental health deteriorated. In the aftermath, Mark embarked on a long and difficult journey toward redemption. He sought therapy to confront the deep-seated issues that had led him astray. He joined support groups, where he found solace in the shared experiences of others who had faced similar struggles. These groups provided a sense of community and understanding, essential for his healing process. Mark learned valuable lessons about accountability and the importance of honesty in relationships. He realized that true redemption could only be achieved through a sincere acknowledgement of his mistakes and a commitment to change. His path was not easy, and the scars of his past lingered. But Mark's journey ultimately taught him the value of integrity and the importance of rebuilding trust, both with others and with himself. Lisa's strength and resilience. Lisa's response to the betrayal was marked by a transition from heartbreak to a calculated quest for revenge, and finally, to personal growth and resilience. The initial revelation of Mark's affair devastated her, shattering her trust and sense of security. Her subsequent actions, driven by a desire for retribution, brought temporary satisfaction but left her feeling hollow. Through therapy and introspection, Lisa began to understand the importance of moving beyond revenge. She focused on her children and her career, finding strength in her roles as a mother and teacher. Lisa's journey taught her the value of resilience and the importance of forging her own path to happiness. She discovered that true strength lies in the ability to rebuild and move forward even after experiencing profound betrayal. Sarah's quest for inner peace. Sarah's role in the affair and its aftermath was marked by her initial pursuit of happiness through destructive means. Her attraction to Mark and the subsequent affair were attempts to fill a void left by her failed marriage. However, the fallout from her actions led to isolation and forced her to confront the reality of her choices. After moving away, Sarah embarked on a journey of self-discovery and healing. Therapy helped her understand the underlying issues that had driven her behavior, and she began to find peace within herself. Sarah's story underscores the lesson that true happiness cannot be built on the ruins of others' lives. Instead, it must come from a place of self-awareness and genuine personal growth. The fragility of trust. The experiences of Mark, Lisa, and Sarah highlight the fragility of trust in relationships. Trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to repair. The betrayal shattered the bonds between them, leading to a cascade of pain and suffering. Rebuilding trust required immense effort, honesty, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. The consequences of selfish desires. The story also serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of actions driven by selfish desires. Mark's affair, Sarah's manipulation, and Lisa's quest for revenge were all motivated by personal needs and desires, without regard for the impact on others. These actions set off a chain of events that had devastating effects on everyone involved. The lesson here is clear. Actions driven by selfishness often lead to unintended and far-reaching consequences. The power of forgiveness. Forgiveness emerged as a central theme in the aftermath of the betrayal. For Mark, forgiving himself was a crucial step in his journey toward redemption. For Lisa, forgiving Mark allowed her to move past her anger and focus on rebuilding her life. Sarah had to forgive herself for the pain she had caused and learn to seek happiness in healthier ways. Forgiveness does not imply forgetting or excusing the actions that caused harm. Instead, it is a process of letting go of resentment and finding a way to move forward. Through forgiveness, each character found a path to healing and personal growth. The true meaning of love. Ultimately, the story of Mark, Lisa, and Sarah reveals the true meaning of love. Love is not just about passion and desire. It is about trust, respect, and commitment. It requires honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to work through difficulties together. When these elements are missing, love can quickly turn into pain and betrayal. Moving forward, in the end, everyone involved learned valuable lessons that reshaped their lives. Mark discovered the importance of honesty and accountability. Lisa found strength in resilience and the power of forgiveness. Sarah realized that true happiness comes from within and cannot be achieved through manipulation or deceit. The neighborhood, once a symbol of peace and happiness, now stood as a reminder of the pain and heartbreak that can lie just beneath the surface. Yet it also became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for change and healing. Conclusion. The story of Mark, Lisa, and Sarah is a powerful reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the devastating impact of betrayal. It highlights the fragility of trust and the far-reaching consequences of actions driven by selfish desires. In the end, the characters learned valuable lessons about forgiveness, redemption, and the true meaning of love. Their journeys, marked by pain and growth, underscore the enduring truth that even in the face of profound betrayal, there is always the potential for healing and renewal. Chapter 10. Moving Forward. Lisa's new purpose. As the years passed, Lisa found a renewed sense of purpose in her life. Her experiences with betrayal and revenge, though deeply painful, led her to a place of profound personal growth. No longer consumed by anger or resentment, Lisa shifted her focus to helping others who had faced similar trials. Lisa began volunteering at support groups and counseling centers for individuals dealing with relationship betrayals and emotional trauma. She used her experiences to offer empathy, understanding, and practical advice to those struggling with the aftermath of infidelity and deception. Her compassion and resilience resonated deeply with those she helped, establishing her as a beacon of strength and hope in a field where such qualities were invaluable. Through her work, Lisa realized that revenge, while initially providing a fleeting sense of satisfaction, only extended the period of suffering and prevented genuine healing. She came to understand that true recovery and moving forward required letting go of past grievances and focusing on positive, constructive actions. Her dedication to supporting others became a central part of her identity, offering her a profound sense of fulfillment and purpose. Lisa's involvement in these support communities also led her to advocate for broader awareness and education on issues related to emotional abuse and betrayal. She organized workshops, wrote articles, and spoke at events, sharing her journey and the lessons she had learned. Her efforts helped countless individuals navigate their own pain and begin their paths to recovery. Mark's path to redemption. Mark's journey to move forward was no less challenging, but was marked by significant progress. After relocating to a new city, he committed himself to a rigorous process of self-reflection and therapy. The sessions were often emotionally taxing, requiring him to confront the full scope of his mistakes and the impact they had on his family. Through therapy, Mark gained insights into his actions and the underlying issues that had contributed to his betrayal. He learned about the importance of self-forgiveness and accountability, understanding that redemption required not only acknowledging his wrongs, but also making amends and striving to be a better person. One of Mark's most significant achievements was mending his relationship with his children. The road to rebuilding trust was long and fraught with setbacks, but Mark approached it with patience and dedication. He made a concerted effort to be present in their lives, attending their events and engaging in meaningful conversations. Slowly but surely, Emma and Jake began to open up to him again, recognizing his genuine commitment to change. Mark also worked on restoring his professional reputation, taking on smaller projects and gradually regaining the respect of his peers. His career was never quite the same, but he found satisfaction in the smaller victories and the renewed sense of integrity that came with them. Sarah's transformation. Sarah's journey after leaving the neighborhood was marked by a profound transformation. Having faced the consequences of her actions and the isolation that followed, she embarked on a path of self-improvement and growth. Her time in therapy helped her gain a clearer understanding of her own vulnerabilities and motivations. Determined to use her experience for a greater good, Sarah became an advocate for women going through divorce and betrayal. She started by volunteering with organizations that supported women in challenging personal situations. Her first-hand experience allowed her to offer valuable advice and support, making a real difference in the lives of those she helped. Sarah also pursued additional training in counseling and became certified as a life coach specializing in relationship recovery. She held workshops and wrote a book detailing her journey and the lessons learned, aiming to provide guidance and hope to those navigating similar struggles. Her work was driven by a genuine desire to help others avoid the pitfalls she had encountered and to find their own paths to healing. Epilogue. In the end, the story of Mark, Lisa, and Sarah is a poignant testament to the complexities of human frailty and resilience. Their lives, intertwined by betrayal and recovery, serve as a powerful reminder of the enduring capacity for forgiveness and redemption. While the scars of betrayal may never fully fade, the characters learn to live with them, finding new paths and new beginnings. Their journeys reflected the profound truth that despite the deepest pain and the most severe setbacks, there is always hope for a better tomorrow. Each of them emerged with a deeper understanding of themselves and a commitment to positive change, illustrating the possibility of transformation even in the face of significant adversity. The quiet suburban neighborhood, once the backdrop for intense drama and heartache, gradually returned to its peaceful existence. New families moved in, the community thrived, and life went on. The neighborhood stood as a reminder that, despite the trials and tribulations that may arise, life continues with its cycles of joy and sorrow. It symbolized the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity to find hope and renewal even after experiencing profound challenges. In this way, the story of Mark, Lisa, and Sarah became more than just a tale of betrayal and revenge. It became a reflection of the enduring strength of the human heart and the possibility of finding light even in the darkest of times.